watched
Quantum Leap!
The new Quantum Leap.
Whoosh, whoosh.
We've seen episode 1 and episode 2. Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. My some thoughts about it straight away.
Talk to me.
Talk to you. The choice of not having Sam as the lead, making sure that Sam and Al are a bit of history that happens, that is included, very much included, but not a remake. This is not a reimagined of the same thing. It is a continuation. They have this history. It's all happened. And they're acknowledging that. And these people are, in a way, in a meta, they are the same people, but they are not the same people. What I'm seeing is that of course Ben is definitely as brilliant as Sam was, but then a scientist would be, otherwise they wouldn't be in charge of this project. So
exactly, he has to be.
But the more interesting things are actually the Ian character and the Addison character, and also the people that are behind the scenes, like Magic and this Jen, the security lady.
Yeah.
But especially Ian and Addison are actually
Addison.
Are Al taken apart into pieces.
Yes.
So
I agree. I totally agree.
Which is a very interesting choice. And I think they had no choice but to do something like that. They had to have more of a backstory because 2 reasons. One, when the original was written, it was a time of episodic. People wanted very episodic standalone thingies. So very interchangeably watchable. And basically all of Quantum Leap you can watch interchangeably, bar like 3 episodes. That's it.
A bunch, yeah.
But now we want something that has a episodic element, so you can watch it just for the week and be satisfied, but also a long-term story. That's the one reason. The other reason is that filmmaking has become so complicated that one person to carry a show like this, it's impossible. So they have to have an ensemble cast. So one ensemble cast. So you get from 2 characters in the original, you get 1 plus 4. Basically, for to make up the elements, and I think it works very well. I like the characters. I'm enthused. I think they made the right choices. And not forgetting the history. I don't know if you noticed that, but at the end of the first episode, there was a dedication to Dean Stockwell.
Oh, how could you not notice? It was like,
well, you have to go all the way to the end. So So they acknowledged that, and they acknowledged that in the second episode. They mention her in the first episode is the daughter of Admiral Calavicci. They mention her in the first episode, and they do more with her later.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's like the cliffhanger at the end of the first episode to go, oh wait, there's a bigger story here. It ties into more stuff than we think. It's not just we take the genesis and we go from there, but it's also stuff's coming from the old show into the new show.
Another positive thing is the diversity, simple diversity of having Ben be Korean, actually Korean born. He actually says it in the second episode. He was born in Korea, which is different from being second generation in America. I hope they're going to do something.
He's first generation.
So that he's now. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's different. He's first generation, not second generation, which is a different thing. I hope they're going to do something with that in the future. The Ian. The modernness of him, basically of them. Probably them. They haven't said yet. So. We don't know yet.
They haven't said. The press release was about non-binary character. So far, everyone refers to Ian as Ian.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice.
So I always take my cues from the person themselves.
What I liked about it that it's included without it being a feature. The fact that Ben is a Korean is actually more of a feature than that Ian is a non-binary. They don't even mention it. We don't know if they're going to do something with it. I hope so. The negative thing I have about the show is that the quantum leap idea of the quantum leap original quantum leap idea was perfect for the time because you could have these standalone stories very compactly. Now that is not so. You have to we have to go past this stage real fast. Otherwise, they're going to lose momentum. So they're going to have to do more than this. I love it, but they have to get for the modern thing. They're going to have to do more than the 2 episodes we've seen. I hope they will. They have time to do it.
Yeah, I doubt it. I think this is the format. I think this is what they're saying. This is what we're going to be doing, but there's going to be a huge storyline on the project side of things, and yeah.
Then they're going to have to make the actual standalone stories very socially interesting, because it is that many years later we the viewers have learned a lot more about storytelling and what we want to see. And Quantum Leap was the original Quantum Leap was very revolutionary at the time, because it went real far with stories of things that people almost didn't want to talk about,
to the point that
socially relevant stuff, to the point that they actually almost got themselves cancelled for not bringing any revenue in, because no advertiser would advertise.
The gay episode was boycotted by everyone except for women's not in because this is 30 years ago that this happened, but the only women's products, sanitary products, were willing to air advertisements in that hour, but they went ahead to do it anyway. However, they did have to change the script several times to tone it down from which is actually very, very sad. So they had no chance on NBC, on public network or NBC network at that time, to actually put anything gay on, which was from now perspective of now, that is absolutely ludicrous, and that is how it was in 1991. So
but now they can't do that anymore. Now they're going to have to put up or shut up. They're going to have to put him in really in socially interesting, because as much as I enjoyed the first episode, which was a very basic adventure, and the second episode was fun because it was space, but we need more than that.
The fans are supposing the second episode was like the thing they had always wanted to do and never could do in the old days. They just like, okay, let's just go to space. Let's just do it. And
I loved it.
A nice story.
And I'm nerd enough to absolutely go smile the entire way.
Yes, there was a whole bunch of not correct science going on there. But that was fine. It's Quantum Leap. It's not about the science.
Yeah, but the thing is, we are not 30 years ago. You have to cater to the fact that people do know that if you don't tether up properly, you might drift away. All these things. You need to get the science right, because otherwise somebody on YouTube is going to make a video about it and make you look like an idiot.
They will, and it wasn't correct. However, there were dockings between the shuttles and the Mir space station around those years. So that's correct. But
that's correct.
The problem they got into and how to get out of it, there's a whole bunch of not correct about it. Space is much more dangerous than that. You can't fuck around with that stuff.
And the thing is, I'm repeating it again, in the 80s and 90s, that was fine. It is not fine.
It is not fine for a science fiction show. And this is the point where I am wondering, are they going to be losing the male science fiction watchers? The female science fiction watchers might be like, hey, this is Quantum Leap, it's okay, I'm watching for the stories and the characters. I'm really generalizing here. But a lot of hardcore sci-fi fans will tune out when they say, well, wait, no, and I'm blanking on the bit where it was absolutely, my husband was sitting next to me saying, no, absolutely, that can never happen, or they would have already been dead. So
And it's already,
however, even he was really, really into the episode because, hey, space shuttle.
But it's already showing in the numbers, because I happened to look up on IMDb the numbers. Really? The numbers for the original show is an 8+. The numbers for this show with 2 episodes out is a 4.7.
Yes, it's known at the moment that the IMDb reviews are the lowest, but all the other ones are super high. It was trending top 10 in on Twitter, which is enormous. It was number 5 overall. The pilot was number 5 overall on television, whatever it is for that hour or that evening or something. But number 5 is ridiculously high, and it was number 1 for NBC. That's before there are any streaming numbers yet, because the streaming numbers will come in later, and the current day model is no longer we take the on the day and that's it. They do actually wait a week.
But the on the day numbers show that people want to like it. They showed up to watch.
Yes.
The question is, can they keep this? Can they make it work? Can they deliver on their promise on this? They have a sort of promise. It's not a real promise, but a promise of goodness. The question is, can they deliver in the way it is now? And I think they need to do a little bit more work on it. I really love a whole bunch of these elements, but it needs work. They need to do more. I hope they know that.
I have worries about the relationship between Addison and Ben, because so far she hasn't had the chance to tell him that they're engaged. But she doesn't know yet. She hasn't been around leapers. Actually, she should know everything that happened in the previous set of leaps up until Sam Beckett disappearing. That should be known, at least to the people at the project. So she knows that he's going to get into situations where he's going to be leaping into a person with an intimate relationship, etc., etc. And he may not be able to not engage in any sort of intimacy during that.
They're not gonna do that. They're not ever gonna do that, because that's way too risky. And there's a whole bunch of other things they can do for that.
You know, Sam Beckett did it in the way that he was shy and an introvert. They put Ben Song down as an introvert specifically. He's not at all shy. He does have some of Sam's characteristics, but certainly not all. He's very socially savvy. He just prefers computers, I guess.
I think that the situation is not going to come up because the writers realize that they cannot write that. They cannot write a situation where there's a questionable. They're not going to do that. If they're going to do that, it'll be Ben in the person being chased. Let me call it that, and he'll be able to fight back.
Which was nearly always the case with Sam Beckett anyway, because he was what I would consider now a demisexual person. He was somebody who didn't want to engage in any sort of intimacy unless he was really really liked the person or was in love with the person. He says that several times. Nowadays we would actually place that in, he's not just shy. No, literally that is who he is. He really doesn't want that. And he played it that way, which was revolutionary for the 1990s, because you had all these sexually active males on television being the leads of stuff, and they put it on Al in this one. That's in the old series. In the new series, they, like you said, they split Al into Addison and Ian, where Ian gets all the flamboyance and the sexuality, because he mentions polyamory and all of that stuff. Or they mention, I don't know. We'll have to find out.
They haven't said yet, so we don't know.
And Addison is actually the part of Al that is all the practical, because Al was a very practical person, had done so many different things in his life because he was a doer.
And stubborn.
And she was intended to, Addison was intended to be the leaper, which is a very cool reveal that I just thought was such a fun twist. And it makes sense. It makes no sense that the actual scientist would leap. That never makes sense unless he has a reason. In the old show, we never find out why Sam leaped. In this show, it's actually a plot point. Why Ben leaped this is our big mystery of this season. I hope it won't be more than a season, because I don't like super drawn out forever, never getting an answer on stuff.
I have a thought about that plot thing, because I have written down on my little paper. I made a paper.
Oh, you have? Yes. I have loads of thoughts, so do tell.
The thing about the plot point of he leapt, but we don't know why. It's actually also one of the older ones that is sort of almost trite. The scientist who partakes in his own experiment because of external circumstances, and it's really a trope.
Yeah,
it's a trope.
Absolute trope. Yeah, it's actually a children's book storytelling trope. For it's young very adventurers. Yeah,
that is also one they have to try and transcend.
The mad professor.
The mad professor who partakes in his own experiment because of perceived reasons, and never good ones.
This one, they specifically put it on. He has reasons. We don't know what it is. And maybe completely, he may have been misguided. That's currently in episode 2 where they're kind of going with that, but I don't think so. I think he's smarter than that. I think there's something going on that is so important, because he said it was something like on that text was like, we have to do it now. And he said, this is bigger than anything. Yeah, on the phone, in the video that he sent Addison. This is bigger than anything. So what is bigger than anything? And I can come up with at least one, and I'm not the only one, because people on the internet are talking about it too, is evil leapers. What about if the evil leapers, which were introduced in season 4 and 5 of the old Quantum Leap show, what about if they are out there and they are winning? Because we have clearly stated with the second episode now, with the Atlantis episode, that this is a flight that never took place. Yes, people have figured out this flight never took place. The Atlantis did not fly in that year and that date. Of course, no single astronaut ever died on a space shuttle. So that never happened either. So the universe that they live in is not our universe. That is correct with the old show, because if you watch the Lee Harvey Oswald episode, the culmination of that episode in the end is he's there to save Jackie Kennedy, but Jackie Kennedy never died in our universe. So that's the first and only inkling we get in the old show that they are actually not in our universe.
No, he's there to fix. He's there to fix. In the old show, he's there to fix what went wrong and back to how it should have been.
But that's the only time that we find out back to what it should have been, or back to what we're used to. Because for Al and for Sam, it's like, no. Well, for Al tells him Jackie died, and we know she didn't. So they're not living in our universe, and there's it's quantum physics. There's endless universes out there. So putting these things together, you can literally go anywhere with who the bad guy could be. Well, loads of thoughts. I agree. It's a fantastic start. We'll see we'll wait to see what happens next. Points. Little points is, please never ever in your lifetime ever use green screen. Do not do it. Do not do it. There are LED walls nowadays, LED walls. They use them in DeLorean. They use them in all these Disney productions.
And you're talking about that effect?
Yes. That effect, you cannot get science fiction fans to watch bad special effects. So, bad boy, don't do it again. Oh, boy, girl, and other. But there was a whole lot of not clear stuff about the pilot not actually being the pilot. I don't know the details. Maybe in due course I will find out the details. But the pilot was not intended to. That leap was not intended to be the pilot. It was supposed to be the earthquake episode that we haven't seen yet. So I don't know anything about it yet, other than what I can guess, which there's no point in doing that because it would be spoilers.
But it's quantum leap. You should be able to have some interchangeable business because of that format of that one story, one episode.
Yeah, but they're doing this through line with that seeps through to what Addison does with talks to Ben about. And also there's the love through line, because Ben has a lot of emotional intelligence, instincts. He's got good intuition for people, and he's vibing that he loves her or she loves him. He's vibing it. He doesn't know it yet. He doesn't understand it yet, but he knows. And there's also she's his only lead to where he knows he comes from. That's, you know, he could be very lonely. That was always a point with Sam Beckett. He never had time to be lonely, but he effectively, of course, was. So there's stuff that's gonna have to be done with that. Sorry.
Yeah. Another thing, they pinned it down because it was at the end of the old series. It was still a bone of contention. Sam never left home, and they pinned it down here. And I think I thought it was. I know a lot of fans are very upset about the fact that he never left home, but to me, always, that is the conclusion of this. That is what this is, and the same goes for Ben. Once you get on this train, you know, you're circular. Your beginning is your end. This is it. Mm-hmm. And I hope they address that. I hope they don't address it in the dumb way of we're just going to ignore that fact and do something else. I hope they're actually going to address that. But this is a circular setup. You get in it, you don't get off.
Yeah. In the second episode where they introduced that network, the 3D network of all the points in time, and Ian determines there is an end point that Ben is aiming for, and I'm going
disagreeing with you on that one.
Yeah, if you can't hit the bullseye in one go, how are you going to hit the bullseye along the way? So he either is never going to get there, or he will get there and then find out that it's going to spiral out of control from there and still bounce around in time, putting right what once went wrong.
I'm going to disagree on that plot point with the point. The point is straight up the plot of this arc. I think Ben leapt in to correct whatever is at that point. The death of Queen Elizabeth many years earlier, or whatever, something. That's the story arc. That is not the nature of leaping.
Mm-hmm.
That's his story arc. That's why he jumped in. He jumped in because something happened at that point which he must correct, possibly the end of all of time, because he's leaving behind his fiancée. It must be pretty dire if he
says it is bigger than anything. So what is bigger than anything?
I hope that then it is actually like the destruction of modern civilization, at least, that he's giving up her for, and not for the death of a president or something.
That's why I'm thinking in terms of Eva Leaper. So structurally there's something going wrong, and that he thinks he can correct at a certain point in time. But it could also be the creation of Project Quantum Leap, because the moment anybody has the ability to leap in time and change things, you're screwed. The whole world is screwed, because everyone's going to be futzing around with time.
I don't think he can go to Project Quantum Leap because he's not old enough.
They have already confirmed that he's going to be leaping outside of his own lifetime.
Oh, okay. So
but we don't know that in these two episodes yet.
The original theory of Quantum Leap is that the leaper cannot exceed his own lifetime, usually going past, but also a theory in future. But he cannot go beyond the date of his birth. So if they change that, change that. But that's
okay to change that, because Ben has upgraded the software. And of course, they've been working for 30 years. Al Calavicci, Magic, and all these other, and Ian, they've been working on Project Quantum Leap, presumably to bring Sam home. I doubt it. I think it's probably to find out how it works.
Just develop the project, yeah.
Yeah, and it's because they did state that Al Calavicci kept on going for all these years. I completely had a gasp moment at the second episode when I saw the name Susan Diol in the beginning credits, because I was like flipping out, and my husband was, what's going on? What this just happened on screen? No, it was the name. Because I know who it is. So, Beth. To have Beth Calavicci show up and oh, she looks awesome, by the way. She was still as lovely and wonderful as we all remember. She knows there's, by the way, if we're going, and we are going by the final episode and the final splash screens of the episode, for the final episode, that means he has 4 daughters. So they have 4 daughters, not just Janis. Janis is one of them. When we saw Janis, she looked fairly young, so she should be one of the youngest daughters. He couldn't have had kids before coming back from Vietnam. That would have been about 1974. So all the kids would be 38 or 37 and younger. This woman could easily be 30 years old. Anywhere between 30-35.
Yeah, she's a smidge on the young side, but we'll forgive them that.
That's fine. Al having kids later in life is perfectly acceptable.
Well, Beth also has to have the kids, because that's
well, more. Yes, that is true. But she was quite young in 69 when we see her in the episode.
Yeah, she could have been really young. Yeah, she could have been really young. Yeah. So that's I loved it, and they're doing that part at least right. That they know that they have the history and that they're doing something with it, but now they have to worry about how to fit it in the modern world. They're doing stuff, but they need to do more. And I hope I'm not sure about the Evil Leaper plot, because the Evil Leaper plot in the original was a little bit not going anywhere. It sort of fizzled out, where it should have gone great.
It was very complex, and I think
they never got enough of it to actually show what it actually was like. So. But they also have to do the quantum leaping, the actual format of the show. They still have to find the right shape of it in the modern world.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a little time, because they it's like a regular show with like 22 episodes or something like that. But don't know yet, but I think that's probably, and usually with these shows, they have like the first 12 episodes to figure it out, and then the network says yay or nay on the next
yes, they've got half a season, and they're waiting for
but they do have to
on the second
they have to figure it out within the first 11 episodes, to find the twist that works for this format now.
And I found in the second episode where you actually see the Magic and Jen go out in the field and go after, visit Beth Calavicci, but also go out and doing stuff. Storyline there. I think that's where the interesting bits for the through line is going to be the growth, because Ben's going to be very busy fixing the little things that he is constantly thrown into, and that's going to be the fun adventure part, but we're going to have the big through line from the project. And the characters, say Magic is worth mentioning, and Jen, of course. Jen seems to have, she mentioned that she was beholden to Magic because Magic gave her a chance. That's another thing when no one else would. That's a line from the old show, because Al says that to Sam is, you gave me a chance when no one else would. And so that's another, putting our characters, our old characters, into the new characters and storylines, and actually fleshing it out, because Al had so much going on that you can split him into 4 people easily.
And Magic and Jen will have the military part of Al, because both Magic and Jen are military in that corner, and they're going to have to figure out how, because if it turns out that the bad forces come from inside the military, which is very possible, they're going to have an interesting storyline to work out.
Yeah. And Magic is Navy, because he's a character that was in the Vietnam episode, and he was the person that Sam leaped into. He was one of the only people of color characters that was ever not about the fact that he was a person of color.
In the original show.
In the original show. And presumably Magic remembers, or at least he served under Tom Beckett's command. He says he did two
tours.
2 tours, and the first tour was the one with Tom. So there's a very direct connection to Sam there. It is implied that Tom and Magic have at least a friendly relationship during the episode and would have kept into contact. So that's very simple to connect that back to, yes, he would be working for with Al Calavicci in Project Quantum Leap.
Yeah, so then Al got him in, and then Magic called Jen in, because I think Jen appears to the storyline appears to be that Jen is actually somebody from his military past that got taken in as well. So that's going to be interesting.
With something behind that, and just those little lines. I think the writing is sometimes very good in this show, because just a little line right there says so much about a character, and then you go, now I'm interested. And whereas there's no time for more than one line, and if you use the line correctly, then yes, we're interested. We want to know about these people.
Yeah, and I think the writing is very good. The production is very good. But there's a lot of other shows out there that are very good right now. So they have to buckle down and get on with it.
Yeah,
keep it up and keep on going up. Yeah. The production of the second episode with the space stuff, oh my God, everybody happy. The first episode is very prosaic with just, yes, it is 1985, but it's just cars and a
lot of the old Quantum Leap was literally, you just put a vintage car in a street outside of town, and you've got your settings. Yeah.
Yeah, but the second episode with the spacewalk, and yes, of course, it's a boy's fantasy and a girl's fantasy too, by the way. That was wonderful, and I hope that they can actually, while keeping the normalness of the first episode of normal people, because they did that in the second episode. It's just one of the astronauts that has a problem, and Ben is there to correct it.
And I think that's the strength of Quantum Leap, and in this show they can probably do that more so than the old show, is that you can take that setting that is historic, like the Watts riots they did, and they did a fantastic episode in the old show, and they did a couple of those. You take something that is historic, but you tell a small story. You tell a very human story there, and then you can do pretty much all. You don't have to change history, but he might be. Well, he's clearly leaping to change history, but what kind of history? If it is a history of this is where the Evil Leapers started, yes, I'm still on my Evil Leaper bandwagon here.
That's the sci-fi part. The Evil Leaper is the sci-fi part of this story, this thing, and they're going to have to think about, because the Evil Leaper then was just a story element, just dropped in, and see how people react. Now we have seen so much more with storytelling in Marvel Universe, and all these.
That, you had Buffy in the late 90s. That was 6 years after Quantum Leap.
Yeah, and we know so much more about storytelling that if they're going to do the Evil Leaper storyline, they better sit down and do it properly. Yes. I hope they have the wherewithal to do that.
And you can go endless with that, almost endless. I mean, for a long-running TV show, you need kind of like a plot you can build and build and build and go. But who is actually behind the evil leapers? Why, etc. And go on higher level until you season 6, season 7, hopefully not. Maybe 10 seasons. That would be lovely. Why not? Think big. But yeah, then there's places to go. Yeah. So final thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Quantum Leap 2022.
We want to see more. Definitely seeing more. I think we should probably do at the end of the season. We can do another little thingy about it. What they actually managed to do.
Yeah, we can look back on the season.
It's very promising.
It is very promising. There's so much that is open. There's like this whole world that they could go, and we don't know where they're gonna go with it. The fact that they've made it a mystery as well, and now everybody, including the person who created the mystery, is going to have to figure
it out.
Yeah. So I love it. I'm up for it, and I'm very happy with the cast, and keep them coming.
Yep.
So that's my opinion.
And my opinion, and
we're sticking to it.